Welcome back to Filmonomics is Slated. I'm Steph Paterno, and in this fourth and final segment from South Korea, where I had attended the Busan International Film Festival, I had the pleasure of sitting down with one of the most versatile and prolific producers on Slated, Shriyari Sathe. Now, Shriyari is an Indian born and raised producer who got his film education in the US and now straddles both countries, being based in New York City and Mumbai, and has been juggling half a dozen different film projects in the last few years alone. He is the epitome and the perfect embodiment of the international producer, having produced films for both for American audiences, as well as in Arabic, in Taiwanese, in Urdu, in Hindi, and in Marathi. How does he do it? It's absolutely incredible. Well, we had the opportunity to hear about one of the films in particular, Dukhtar, which is a road trip movie, which was an international co-production, and believe it or not, is Pakistan's official submission for the Best Foreign Language Oscar for next year. So let's go hear what he had to say.
Dukhtar has a very sort of interesting journey because you will see the logos at the end of the film. There's probably, I would say, 15 organizations who got on board the project at different stages. Including, it was Cine Reach in New York, they got on board the project in development. Then there was IFP, Film Independent, NISCA, there was Women in Film and Television, New York Women in Film and Television, Women in Film, Adrian Shelley, Tribeca, the Worldview Fund of the UK, National Geographic, Netflix, SOAR Fund, all these organizations basically, and Berlinale Talent Project Market. So they all came on board different stages as the film was getting put together. I came on board the film last year when I reconnected with Afia just by chance, and I'd always liked the project, and she showed me a rough cut, and I saw the film, and I was like, this is amazing. I just have to be a part of this. So the original inspiration was Afia had read a news article in a newspaper, maybe about, I think, 15 years ago or so, about this mother who basically, quote-unquote, kidnaps her two daughters and from a tribal area in North Pakistan, and escapes them because basically it's her husband wants to marry the two girls to like another tribe, and she doesn't want that to happen to her daughters, so she takes them, and she's on gets on the road. So that was sort of the original inspiration, and Afia really wanted to tell the story about women empowerment, about this one woman taking her life in control and trying to make a better life for her daughter. Where the film is shot, no feature film has ever been shot before. It's in North Pakistan, on the border of Pakistan and India, in the Pakistani side of Kashmir. And just the landscape is breathtaking. So it's like, that added a character, then it was the juxtaposition of sort of countryside and a major metropolitan city, which is Lahore, and that journey and contrast between the two cultures within the same country. I think that was sort of like what she wanted to tell with the film. It was a big challenge to raise any money in Pakistan because it's a female director, two females in the lead, on the road, and a social issue in some ways. So she had a very, very tough time raising money in Pakistan. So the funding actually got kickstarted with SOAR Fund, and then all these other organizations that I mentioned earlier sort of came on board. And a lot of the crew in Pakistan deferred their fees to be able to work on this film because they were really interested in working with Afia, and she brought on a lot of people on board who had worked with her on her short films in the past. The biggest challenge is getting people to invest in non-English language films. It's still a challenge. In the US, it is still a challenge. And I think Slated is a platform that is going to help sort of get the material out there, at least make people aware of that these are the projects that exist. And I think it's very important for independent films to have other champions on board. And that's one of the reasons that I attend markets and I take my projects to different markets to get these champions in different countries. The distribution, the sales point of the business is the most challenging because the kind of stories that I'm working on and the projects I'm working on are not your run-of-the-mill kind of projects, and they all have their unique challenges that come with it. So it's basically trying to find a way to tackle this distribution and sales landscape to get these films out there. I think for independent films, I think it's very important to have other people who feel the same way you feel about a project. And I think one of the things that Slated is doing really well is having all these organizations on the platform. So they also kind of keep track of what films are out there, what are other people working on.
What a unique and fascinating perspective on the challenges every independent filmmaker faces when releasing an international film to a global marketplace, whatever the language may be. Now, listening to Shriyari reminded me that financing and distribution are really the two sides to the same coin that need to be tackled by every producer during the packaging phase. Now, that happens to be a perfect segue to our next segment, which was on the recent Filmonomics Talks event that we had, which was about, you guessed it, sales and distribution. So stay tuned, which is another way of saying subscribe. I'll see you next time.